Jungkook sat astride his black Ducati, fingers flexing over the handlebars, the hum of the engine a low growl beneath him. The sun dipped below the horizon, splashing the sky with streaks of molten orange and indigo. Next to him, Jinmin's Kawasaki gleamed, its emerald paint catching the dying light. Jinmin adjusted his gloves and turned to Jungkook, a mischievous grin playing on his lips. Ready to leave the city behind? Jinmin asked, his voice barely audible over the rumble of the engines. Jungkook smirked, his eyes crinkling. Always. The plan was simple, or so it seemed. A week-long motorcycle tour across the winding backroads of the countryside. No deadlines, no schedules, just open roads and the promise of freedom. For two best friends who had spent years navigating the chaos of life in the spotlight, it was a rare escape. But escapes, as they both knew, often brought revelations. The first stretch was exhilarating. The duo weaved through traffic, leaving the bustling cityscape behind. Skyscrapers gave way to rolling hills, and the air grew cooler as they ascended into the mountains. Jinmin, ever the chatterbox, began narrating stories through the helmet intercom, his laughter punctuating the monotony of the road. Remember when you wiped out trying to show off during training? Jinmin teased. Bold of you to bring that up. Jungkook shot back, especially after your infamous karaoke fail. Their banter was easy, a rhythm they had perfected over years of camaraderie. But beneath the jokes and shared laughter was an unspoken tension, one neither was quite ready to confront as night fell. They pulled into a roadside inn. The quaint establishment smelled of cedar and rain, its wooden beams creaking under the weight of time. They unloaded their gear, their movements synchronized from countless rehearsals and tours. Later, over steaming bowls of ramen, they discussed the route for the next day. Jinmin's gaze lingered on Jungkook a moment too long. He looked away quickly, covering the moment with a casual sip of his tea. Jungkook noticed but said nothing. The silence stretched between them, heavy with by the third day, they had settled into a rhythm. Early morning departures, long stretches of winding roads, and quiet evenings by campfires or in cozy lodges. But the quiet moments began to reveal cracks in their carefully maintained fade. It was during a brief stop at a cliffside overlook that the dam broke. Why are you so quiet today? Jinmin asked, his voice tinged with concern. Jungkook shrugged, avoiding Jinmin's gaze. Just thinking. For a moment, Jungkook said nothing, the wind tugging at his hair. Finally, he turned to Jinmin, his dark eyes searching. Do you ever feel like there's more to this? He asked softly. Jinmin blinked, caught off guard. More to what? This. Jungkook gestured vaguely between them. Us. The question hung in the air, a fragile thread that threatened to unravel everything. Jinmin hesitated, his mind racing. He had thought about it. Of course he had. But acknowledging it out loud felt like stepping off the edge of a cliff. Jinmin began, his voice faltering. I don't know. Jungkook's jaw tightened, and he looked away. Forget I said anything. But they both knew it couldn't be forgotten. The tension grew with each passing mile. Conversations became stilted, and the once comfortable silences now felt heavy. At a small village nestled in a valley, they stopped for lunch. Jinmin tried to bridge the gap with humor, but Jungkook's laughter lacked its usual warmth. Okay, spill it, Jinmin said abruptly, setting his chopsticks down. What's going on with you? Jungkook met his gaze, his expression unreadable. You really don't know? I wouldn't be asking if I did, Jinmin replied, frustration creeping into his tone. Jungkook sighed, running a hand through his hair. I think I've been pretending for too long. Pretending what? Jinmin's voice softened, the frustration giving way to concern. Jungkook hesitated, then looked Jinmin directly in the eye. That I don't feel more for you than I should. The words landed like a thunderclap. Jinmin stared at him, his heart pounding. Part of him had always known, but hearing it out loud made it real. Jinmin started, but the words caught in his throat. He didn't know what to say, what to feel. Jungkook stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the wooden floor. Forget it. Let's just get back on the road. The final day of their journey brought them to a secluded beach, the waves crashing against the shore in a symphony of white noise. They parked their bikes and sat side by side on the sand, the horizon stretching endlessly before them. I've been a coward, Jinmin said suddenly, breaking the silence. Jungkook glanced at him, surprised. What do you mean? Jinmin drew a shaky breath. I've been avoiding you, because I was scared of what it would mean. And now, Jungkook's voice was barely above a whisper. Jinmin turned to him, his eyes bright with unshed tears. Now, I think I'm done running. The confession hung in the air, fragile but unbreakable. Jungkook reached out, his fingers brushing against Jinmin's. It was a tentative touch, but it carried the weight of everything they had been too afraid to say. As the sun dipped below the horizon, their hands intertwined, and for the first time, the road ahead seemed clear. This story can be expanded with vivid descriptions of the landscapes, deeper exploration of their emotions, and more nuanced dialogue. Let me know if you'd like specific sections to be developed further. The warmth of Jinmin's hand in Jungkook's felt both unfamiliar and inevitable. For all the miles they had ridden, for all the silence and laughter they'd shared, it felt like every road had been leading to this moment. But now that it had arrived, neither knew exactly what to do with it. They sat on the beach long after the sun disappeared, the sky deepening into a canvas of stars. The rhythmic crash of the waves filled the silence between them, a natural rhythm to the storm of emotions swirling in their chests. Finally, Jinmin spoke, his voice quiet but steady. I always told myself it was just friendship. That what I felt for you was the same as what I felt for anyone else in our circle. Jungkook didn't say anything, letting Jinmin find his words. Jungkook exhaled, his shoulders relaxing ever so slightly. You have no idea how long I've been waiting to hear you say that. Jungkook gave a half smile, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his expression. Long enough that I almost convinced myself I was imagining it, that it was better to keep quiet and not risk this. They stayed by the water well into the night, the cold breeze carrying their whispered truths back and forth. Jinmin leaned back on his hands, his gaze fixed on the horizon,